Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating: decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs.
hmm
Now, this isn't just some tech buzzword flying around. It feels like a totally different way groups can organize, make decisions, a real shift from the usual top-down company structure.
Definitely. It flips the traditional hierarchy.
So, yeah, we're going to explore what they are, how they actually work, and some of the big things to consider.
And for this, we've sifted through quite a bit. Articles explaining the basics, deeper dives into the mechanics,
Right.
comparisons to regular companies, and, importantly, the legal and security angles, which can get complicated.
Exactly. And look, our goal isn't to bury you in super technical jargon.
No.
We want to pull out the really interesting, the crucial bits to help you get a handle on the DAO landscape quickly, maybe have a few light bulb moments.
Hopefully.
Okay, let's jump in then. What exactly is a DAO, like fundamentally?
Okay, so at its heart, a
Mhm.
DAO is an organization that lives and runs on a blockchain.
On the blockchain. Got it.
Yeah. And there's no central boss calling the shots, no CEO. Instead, the rules, they're written into smart contracts.
Smart contracts,
Oh,
like digital agreements that run themselves.
exactly. Self-executing code.
Hmm.
So decisions usually come down to votes by the DAO members. No single person is in charge.
Okay, so I'm picturing maybe like a company, but instead of, shareholders and a board dictating things from the top,
Hmm.
it's owned and run together by all the members, and everything's like visible on the blockchain.
That's a really good way to think about it, yeah. Jointly owned and managed. And these members, they work together on some shared goal,
Yeah.
trying to create value, distribute it somehow.
How do people even interact with these things?
Well, there are a few ways. Our sources mentioned user interfaces, sometimes APIs for the more technical folks,
Okay.
or things like Wallet Connect. We saw Thrust their LDs to Fibridge mentioned as an example, showing these different kinds of access points.
Okay, so it's this group, decentralized, run by code, but how does that actually function, the mechanics of it?
Right, this is where that phrase, code is law, really comes in. It's key.
Code is law.
Yeah. Unlike a normal company with its articles of association and, state laws,
Right.
a DAO's operations, the relationships inside it, they're basically defined by that smart contract code. The code is the rule book.
And that rule book lives on the blockchain, which is interesting.
It is, because the blockchain provides that foundation of transparency and security.
So everyone can see it.
Exactly. Every rule, every transaction, what the DAO is doing, it's all public record.
Right.
Verifiable by anyone.
Yeah.
That's a massive difference from many traditional setups.
Okay, so say the community wants to do something new. Fund a project, change a rule. How does that happen?
Typically, someone proposes it. A member puts an idea forward.
Just throws it out there.
Well, usually through a formal proposal process within the DAO. Then the people holding the DAO's tokens, they vote.
Ah, the token holders.
Right. The exact voting mechanics can differ, but often the smart contracts themselves automatically tally the votes. And this is crucial. They execute the outcome if it passes.
Execute it. How?
So if the vote was, say, to send funds from the Treasury to Project X,
Yeah.
the smart contract can literally just make that transfer happen automatically once the vote threshold is met.
Wow, okay. That sounds efficient. Maybe even a bit scary if something goes wrong, but efficient.
It can be incredibly efficient.
We saw mentions of Constitution DAO back in 2021.
Ah, yes.
They didn't actually get the Constitution in the end, did they?
No, they were outbid.
But it really showed how fast a huge group could just, poof, organize and go after something big using this DAO thing.
Absolutely. It was a very public, very rapid demonstration of that potential for collective action.
Made you think about the possibilities and maybe some of the chaos, too, when things move that fast.
Definitely. And it's worth remembering the original, the DAO from 2016 as well.
Right, the early one.
Yeah, it was set up as this sort of decentralized VC fund. Raised a ton of money through crowdfunding. Huge deal at the time.
But didn't that one?
It did. It ended up being dissolved. There were major security holes in its code.
Mm-hmm.
So it's also a reminder of the risks, especially in these early days.
Okay, so this DAO model offers a new way to organize. What are the actual upsides? Why go this route instead of a traditional company?
Well, there are several potential advantages. We already talked about the transparency and accountability. That's a big one, thanks to the blockchain.
Right, the public ledger.
Then there's the autonomy. Independence from, a single point of control or failure.
Decentralized decision-making.
Exactly. It tends to be more democratic, giving token holders a direct voice and vote. This can really build a strong sense of community, of shared ownership.
People feel more invested if they have a say.
Precisely. and it can potentially make the organization more agile, maybe less bogged down in traditional bureaucracy.
That makes sense. Faster decisions, maybe.
Potentially, yes. The decentralized nature could allow for more nimbleness. And as you said, when people feel they have a real stake, it can foster amazing community loyalty and engagement.
Okay, those are some strong positives. But it can't all be smooth sailing, right? There have to be downsides. What are the risks? The
Oh,
challenges?
absolutely. You're right to ask. There are significant risks involved. Security of the smart contract code is probably top of the list.
Because code is law.
Right. That sounds powerful, but it doesn't mean the code is perfect or immune to bugs or exploits.
Ah.
The sources brought up the Badger DAO hack in 2021, like $120 million lost.
Oof, that's huge.
It is a really stark reminder that vulnerabilities in the code can lead to massive financial loss. It just hammers home the need for really robust checks, audits, fail-safes.
Yeah, no kidding. What other big challenges are there?
Well, the whole legal and regulatory side is still
Hmm.
murky, very much evolving,
A gray area.
big time. Unlike traditional companies with established laws, DAOs often operate without clear rules or frameworks. That creates a lot of uncertainty.
Okay.
Then there's scalability. Getting broad, meaningful participation in governance as a DAO grows. That can be tough.
Keeping everyone involved.
Exactly. And then there are direct attack risks, like governance attacks,
What's that?
where someone or a group buys up enough tokens to basically force through votes that benefit them, potentially harming the DAO.
Ah, like a hostile takeover, digital style.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And related to that are Sybil attacks,
Sybil.
where one bad actor creates tons of fake identities, fake wallets, to get more voting power than they should have.
Tricky.
Definitely. Also, risks around upgrading the smart contracts. If that update process isn't secure, it can open new doors for attackers.
Right.
And finally, as DAOs start connecting with other blockchains, you get potential interoperability problems, which can also introduce security issues.
Okay, wow. It's definitely a mix of exciting potential and some pretty serious risks. So, stepping back, DAOs versus traditional companies, what are the absolute key differences we should keep in mind?
Okay, the core difference, as we've hit on, is structure and operation. DAOs, smart contracts on a blockchain, no central authority. Traditional companies, hierarchical, operate under existing legal systems.
Decision-making too, right? Distributed versus centralized.
Exactly. Distributed among token holders in a DAO, generally centralized in a traditional company, hierarchy managers, board, CEO.
And transparency seems like a huge one.
Massive. DAOs are typically highly transparent blockchain visibility. Traditional companies can be much more opaque, depending.
What about getting funding? Is one easier than the other?
It depends. Traditional companies have established routes, bank loans, venture capital, stock markets. GAOs often use token sales, maybe community crowdfunding, which is newer territory.
But traditional companies have other strengths, surely. They've been around forever.
Oh, for sure. Reputation, trust built over time, that's a big advantage. They're also usually much better equipped to handle today's complex regulations.
Right. They have legal departments.
Exactly. Experienced management, established decision-making processes. These can be real strengths in certain situations. Plus, things like brand recognition, existing customer service infrastructure.
And maybe more stability for people working there?
Generally, yes. Traditional companies might offer more perceived job security compared to the often more volatile and rapidly changing world of DAOs.
Okay, that makes sense. Given those risks we talked about, especially the Badger DAO hack example, security has to be absolutely top of mind for any DAO.
Paramount.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable. It's the bedrock of trust, right? And because blockchains are immutable, you can't easily change past records.
Right. Once it's there, it's there.
Getting the security right before launch is incredibly critical.
Yeah.
Our sources kept emphasizing code audits, thorough audits by external experts.
Like getting a building inspected before you open it.
Exactly that kind of idea. Independent eyes, checking the blueprints, the construction, and bug bounty programs too.
Paying people to find flaws.
Yep. Paying ethical hackers to find and report vulnerabilities before malicious actors do. It's like having a crowdsourced security team.
Smart.
And while immutability is a feature, sometimes you do need to fix bugs or add features. So, having secure ways to upgrade the smart contracts is often needed, but that upgrade process itself needs to be bulletproof.
What kind of bugs are common?
Oh, various things. Simple coding errors,
Mm-hmm.
issues with access control, who can do what,
Okay.
something called front running.
Front running, what's that? Sounds bad.
It is. It's basically where someone sees a transaction waiting to be processed on the blockchain and quickly submits their own transaction ahead of it, exploiting that knowledge for profit, like
Really?
jumping the queue unfairly.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and even things like relying too much on the exact timestamp of a block, which can sometimes be manipulated a little.
So how do you prevent these things?
Well, there are technical approaches, formal verification, using math to actually prove the code does what it's supposed to. Really thorough testing, obviously. Being careful about known issues like integer overflow, underflow, where calculations go wrong, strong access controls are vital. And specific strategies to fight front-running, like commit reveal schemes.
It sounds like a constant battle.
It really is. Security isn't a one-and-done thing. It needs continuous monitoring, real-time alerts for weird activity, and having a solid plan for what to do when something goes wrong, an incident response plan.
This constant vigilance makes sense, especially with the legal side being so uncertain. Let's talk more about that legal and regulatory stuff. It sounds messy.
Messy is a good word for it.
Huh.
Yeah, the legal framework is definitely lagging behind the tech. It's ambiguous, still forming.
Any key moments or rulings we should know about?
Well, the SEC's decision back in 2017 about the DAO concluding its tokens were securities was huge.
Ah, securities laws apply.
Potentially, yes. It put everyone on notice. Then you have cases like CFTC versus UKI DAO. That one wrestled with how you even serve legal papers on a decentralized entity with no central office or leadership.
How do you do that?
Exactly. It's a complex question. And another case, Sarkoony versus BZX DAO, raised the possibility that DAOs could just be seen as general partnerships under existing law.
A partnership, like a law firm, but without meaning to be.
Potentially, yeah. If the members are basically engaged in a business together, the law might view it as a partnership, even if they never formally set one up. And that has big implications for liability.
You mean members could be personally responsible for the DAO's debts?
That's the concern, yes.
Yeah.
If it's deemed a general partnership, members generally don't have limited liability protection. Their personal assets could be at risk.
Yikes. That's a major thing for anyone thinking of joining a DAO.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And we also saw the Hector DAO case, where a court recognized a DAO as a debtor in a bankruptcy context. So traditional legal systems are starting to grapple with how DAOs fit in.
What about taxes?
Taxes. The IRS says virtual currency is property, so transactions have tax consequences. But the specific reporting requirements for DAOs themselves and for their members receiving tokens or income still pretty unclear in many areas, though the U.S. Treasury is looking at expanding reporting rules for digital assets brokers.
So even if you join a DAO just for fun or for a cause, you might accidentally be part of a legal partnership with tax implications.
That's the potential risk, yes. The general partnership classification is a key thing sources highlighted. They also mentioned looking into structures like unincorporated nonprofit associations, or UNAs.
UNAs.
Yeah, for DAOs that are genuinely not-for-profit. Depending on state law, that might offer some limited liability shield for members, which a general partnership wouldn't. But again, it's complex and varies.
This is a lot to take in. Okay, so if someone's listening and thinking, maybe I am interested in joining a DAO, despite the complexities, where do they even start? It seems overwhelming.
It can feel that way. The first step really is just research. Lots of it. You need to get a feel for the whole DAO ecosystem.
Where do you look?
Sources mention places like Masari for data, reading articles on Medium, following discussions on X, formerly Twitter, and definitely joining Discord servers for specific DAOs.
Discord seems big in this space.
Huge. It's where a lot of the community interaction happens. But the key is finding a DAO that actually aligns with your own goals, your values. Don't just jump into the first one you see. Research its mission, its culture.
Culture, like how the members interact.
Exactly. How do they make decisions? What's the vibe in their discussions? Try to connect with some current members if you can. Maybe sit in on a public community call, get a feel for it.
Makes sense, like checking out a neighborhood before moving in.
Good analogy. And be honest with yourself. Do your skills, your interests, actually match what the DAO needs or is doing? Ask questions. See how you might genuinely contribute.
And assuming someone finds one that feels right, how do they actually get involved without, messing things up or getting overwhelmed?
Start small. Find one specific area that interests you, where you think you can help. Maybe take on a small, low-stakes task first.
Build some confidence.
Exactly. Learn the ropes, see how things work, participate in discussions, stay informed, go to meetings if you can, and really try to understand their governance process. How do proposals work? How does voting happen? Get involved there.
And you don't need to be a coder, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh.
DAOs need all sorts of skills: writing, marketing, community management, design, finance, legal insights, you name it. And often the time commitment can be flexible too.
This has been super insightful, really mapping out the DAO landscape. As we wrap up, what are the absolute key takeaways for our listeners?
Okay, I think firstly, DAOs are a genuinely different way to structure organizations. Huge potential for collaboration, transparency, that's real.
Fair.
But yeah, they come with very real risks. Security is a massive one. Code vulnerabilities can be devastating. And the legal side is still a bit of a wild west.
So choosing between a DAO and a traditional company really depends.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Depends on your specific goals, your risk tolerance the project needs. And you have to keep an eye on how the regulations are changing. Understanding the mechanics, the pros, the cons, the security needs, the legal fog that's just crucial now.
So to boil it down, DAOs, decentralized, code and community governed, transparent, new collaboration styles, but major security challenges, tricky and evolving legal ground.
That's a great summary. And maybe listeners can think about what this means for them. Could you see yourself in a DAO? What parts excite you? What parts give you pause?
Good questions to ask, and maybe one last thing to chew on. As these DAOs keep evolving, how might they really change things? Not just companies, but like other ways humans organize. And how will the old system's law, finance, adapt or push back?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. Definitely something to keep watching, whether you dig into specific DAOs or just follow the regulatory news. Thanks so much for walking us through all this.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating area.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.